everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I'm going to show you how I made this baby card. And I'm focusing on how I made this background paper. It's a really cool technique. And there's lots of products I used, but if you don't have all the products that I'm using, you can certainly change it out. And again, mine is a baby card, but you could use the same technique for a birthday card or anything. So without further ado, let's get started. My background card is Fresh Freesia, and it is 5.5 by 8.5. Then I took a piece of basic white, and I die cut this frame from the Scalloped Contours die, and you get all of these. These are really great. They coordinated with the stamp set, but I don't have the stamp set, so I have these here that I will not be using. But you have all of these nesting, scalloped, and some are stitched rectangle frames. And you also have this nice one down the bottom that you can shape your card with. But for my card, I used this large die. And as you can see, I ran it through, and this is what came up. And I did all of my die cutting ahead of time so that wouldn't take up too much time on the video. So I am going to take this and I'm going to attach it to my card base. And I'm just doing that so that I can get it out of my way. And I'm just going to drop that right there. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the supplies needed to make this background. And I'm using Fresh Freesia. And I have a piece of scrap paper that's cut 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then I have a piece of scrap paper here that, as you can see, I've already used it. And I'm going to use one of these blending brushes. These are fairly new to Stampin' Up. And they're brushes, they're not sponges. So they do go on just a little bit differently, but super, super easy. What I'm gonna do, because I do want to keep my paper sturdy and in places, I'm gonna put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my scrap paper, and you can see I've already done it on this one, and I'm going to just attach it to that. And I can use these lines on my paper, my scrap paper, to make sure that I'm going straight. Now, this process is just so simple. What I'm going to do, I had a little technical difficulty, now I'm back. So I've put my paper on a clean piece of scrap paper. And I'm going to ink up my blending brush. Before I start adding my ink to my paper, I'm going to bring in my scrap here. And I'm going to make a line. And that is so that's how I get these clear lines on my paper. So before I put this onto my paper, I'm going to tap it off over here so I don't get a big blob. And I'm going to come in and just like you're sponging with a sponge, okay? And I'm going to add that there. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to ink up my brush again, and again I'm going to daub off, and I'm going to come in off the side. Okay, now you can see that this first line here is starting to disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this paper back up here, and I'm just going to go over that just to accent it again. So that's what you can do if you go over a line and it looks like it's too light. So again, I've inked up my brush, and I'm going to come in off the side. And you're going to get lots of different variations of the colors. And that is part of the beauty of the technique. So now I'm going to come in over here. And again, start out light because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. And again, tapping off all the time because you do not want that strong concentration of a blob on your paper. And much like you do when you're sponging, you want to come in off the side. Now I see that I have this much left. I'm going to just split that in half and come in. And for my last one, I'm just going to turn it over the other side and line this up here, dab off, and come in. And when I'm done, I have these clear lines going through. Now you can see this is almost like an ombre depending on how you look at it. It's all shaded differently. These are much darker than this one here. So I want to try to get that around the same family tone. So I'm going to make it come out a little more purple than pink. So I'm going to go in with a little more. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with this one right here. And that is, I'm happy with that. So that's the technique. And like I said, you can do this with lots of different colors. I just happened to need it for a little girl and I wanted to use purple. Now I'm going to take that off of my my paper there. And here I want to show you one that I did in Pale Papaya. And I think it would look absolutely beautiful in a soft blue for a little boy. So now I have this piece here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a clean piece of scrap paper. And I'm going to just place this here again. And I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat because I'm going to stamp with some, a photopolymer stamp set. Just want to straighten this up a little bit. I really should use repositionable tape so that's easier to remove from when I lay it down. So what I'm going to do is with my Versamark ink, I'm going to use the stamp set Biggest Wish, and I'm going to use this Hello stamp. That's all I'm going to use from the Biggest Wish. I usually try to make my cards with one stamp set and a coordinating die, but for this one I just ended up finding myself using so many different products. But one product I will definitely say you must use for this one is your embossing buddy. Now this is still kind of wet because of all the ink that we put on it, and I'm going to emboss on it, so I don't want my embossing powder to stick to anything here. So I am going to definitely give that a real good powdering. And the powder tells the embossing powder, don't stick here. Okay? So I'm going to ink my Hello up with my Versamark. And I'm going to bring it over to the left in probably halfway between the top and the bottom. Okay, so there's Hello. And now I'm going to sprinkle my embossing powder. I have white Stamp Emboss. Oh, I do need another piece of scrap paper because this is attached there. And I'm just going to sprinkle that off. And if I see any little stray embossing, I'm just going to move it off with a paintbrush. That looks good. I'm going to put this back into my container, and now I'm going to emboss. And I have my heat tool here. And this is just plain white, but it is going to shine up nicely. Let's move it around until the powder starts to melt, and then you'll see it get bright white. The key is to have your embossing tool heated up. And I thought it was pretty heated up because I had been making a card. Oh, here it comes. But it's going to take just a tiny bit. And see how bright that's coming? Once the powder starts to melt, I just love embossing. Oh, it's like magic to me. And you can clearly see where you have and have not embossed. Okay, so I have my hello. It's all nice and bright. So that is ready. Now, I'm going to attach the baby, the signed baby. And what I did for that, I used the Playful Alphabets dies, excuse me. And this is what you get. All your letters, your numbers, and some symbols. You have the pound sign, you have a little equal sign, an ampersand, a plus sign. But what I like best about this is underneath there is an outline of every letter. So when I'm done using my die, I'm just going to put that back in there. And if I lose one, it's going to be so easy for me to say, oh, look, I'm missing an A. I don't have to go through the whole alphabet. So that's the feature of this that I really like. And what I did is I die cut 2 of each letter in white and 1 in freesia, fresh freesia. And I'm going to show you why. I wanted my letters to be kind of lifted, but I didn't want to use a Stampin' Dimensional because this is kind of small. So what I did, I did the first 3 letters, and I'm going to show you how I did it with the last one. What I did was I put some liquid glue on the back of one of my letters, and I attached it to the letter, the same letter. So this is white Y on top of white Y. Then I took those 2, turned it over, and added a little bit of glue. And then I'm going to place this on my fresh freesia. And I'm going to offset it just the tiniest bit, just so that my letters get a little bit of a shadow on them. And now I'm going to attach them to my card front. Okay. I mean, you might not be able to see it as clearly on the camera. So let me bring this one up. But you really can see this. Just in person, you can see the little bit of a shadow. So now I'm going to go in again with my glue pen. And if you have one of those small Xyrons, you can certainly run these through that. That would make it go a lot quicker. B, A. B, and the Y. Make sure they're straight and they're even before I give them a real final press. Now, after they're pressed and they're good and secure, if you see, because you're using a lot of glue, and you might get some on your fingers, which transfers onto your letters, if you just use this great little glue remover. Stampin' Up! Used to sell it, but they don't anymore. You can get it at any of the box stores or online. It just erases any glue that you might have. So now I'm going to carefully peel this off my paper, because it, like I said, it does have that adhesive on the back of it, so it didn't move while I was doing my technique. But I would definitely recommend that you use repositionable adhesive. actually, before I attach that, I do need to run my ribbon in it. So I have my Fresh Freesia open weave ribbon, and I'm just going to bring it over and tie a knot. And I know I just put adhesive on the back of this, but I messed up. So you should have your ribbon on before you put your adhesive on. Okay, so I'm just going to tie a knot. Right here, I want it on the lower left corner. Okay. Oh my, I hope I don't rip this. Okay, there's that. And now I'm going to attach that. This is why my work surface always has so much glue on it. I'm going to attach that onto my card, right in the middle of my frame. Now that's very pretty. One thing I do want to do is I want to make sure that my knot stays where it's supposed to stay. So I'm going to use a mini glue dot, and I'm just going to put it right behind the knot of my ribbon. Okay, and there's that. Now I want to make my teddy bear. So I have a piece of scrap white, Whisper White, basic white, excuse me. And from the stamp set, Something for Baby, All for Baby, excuse me, I'm going to stamp this little teddy bear in crumb cake and this bow in Fresh Freesia. So here is my crumb cake. Ink up my little adorable little teddy bear. Okay. And my Fresh Freesia. I'm going to do the little bow. This All for Baby stamp set does have a coordinating die, and I'm going to use the teddy bear and the bow, but you can see you have bibs and hangers and little clothespins. It's an adorable little set. I'm going to go take these over to my Big Shot, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with my die cuts, and what I do like about this little guy is he's a distinctive stamp, so he does have a little bit of shading in him, and I think that just adds something nice to the image. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue, liquid glue, to my Fresh Freesia bow. I'm going to put it on the bear, and then I'm going to turn him over and put some mini dimensionals on him, on his feet, one in his head and one in his belly. And okay, the last thing we have to do is the inside of our card, and I have a piece of basic white 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, 5 1/4, and from the Something for Baby, All for Baby, All for Baby, we used to have what was called Something for Baby. I'm going to use 2 stamps, Little Hands, Little Feet, Big Love, Congratulations on Your Growing Family, and I have mounted them all on one block. So with my Fresh Freesia, I'm going to ink those up and just drop it right here on the inside of the card. And now I'm going to just, oops, jeez, I keep knocking my lights over. Attach that to the inside of my card. And that's it. There is our beautiful baby card. And the focal of this whole card, obviously, is the technique for the background. But you can do it for any kind of occasion. You can do it birthday, you can do it get well, wedding, anniversary. It's just a really cool technique to make your own background paper. If you have any questions about this project or any of the products I used, certainly contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.net. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you do not have a demonstrator with whom you work and you would like a catalog, certainly reach out to me and I'll be glad to send you one. Thanks so much. Have a great day.